That's kind of the rule.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do that. If you don't do that, you'll actually get some shade from people. Be like, you know what, you didn't screw that up at the end.
You didn't screw that up on purpose.
No, it's true.
But I didn't.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. It's Wednesday again on Guitargate Live, and today's Blakely Cain, and I'm excited, man. So like, we don't know each other, right? Meeting for the first time today, and so why don't you kind of just tell people that don't know you, and me as well, kind of what you're doing, man? Like, what's your band? What's your style? What's your thing? And then we'll get into your beautiful, beautiful gear, your rig. Obviously, you're a PRS guy. So what's your deal?
Well, mainly, I've been playing in a band called Skies and Chaos for going on 11 years.
Yeah.
With a name change, we used to be called Loose Cannon Trio, which we thought we'd add another guitar player, but that never happened. I've been trying to reel in Frankie G for like 6 years, and it never happened.
Frankie, you don't want to do it?
We've actually done some other stuff together recently, and it's been great. His schedule and our schedule has been the most difficult thing in the entire world to actually match up. It's been hilarious.
Yeah.
It's fun when it works. Really fun.
Dude, I hear you, man. That's I tell everybody that comes through here, that's like one of my favorite things about this. Is because for people that do what we do, we never get to meet anybody or see anybody or collaborate, because if you're good, you're gigging.
You're working.
You know what I mean? So we got to get together at noon on Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's true. Which happened to work out very well for me, to be honest with you.
Awesome.
I've been home for a total of 7 days, and Monday was the first day I've had off in like 2 months. And I got to spend the entire day on my couch.
Mm-hmm.
I also got to see this beautiful thing for the first time in 2 months because it had been at home. I had a custom 24 out with me.
So what were you? So you were obviously working, right?
Yeah.
So tell everybody what you were doing.
Well, so I haven't ever really talked about it that much in the music side of things, but this was my 10th opening day working for the Orioles.
That's awesome, dude.
My 10th one. It kind of dawned on me at like 11 a.m. on opening day. I was like, holy shit! Like this is my 10th one.
Yeah.
And so I've been lucky enough to go down to spring training every year for the past like 7-8 years. And so 2 months out of the year, we put Skies and Chaos on hold.
Uh-huh.
And Dustin, our drummer, goes and plays with everybody. The dude's like the biggest drumming whore I've ever met in my life.
I love it.
But you got to make money. You got to play. And,
yeah.
And he's been blessed enough to do gigs with all of our friends. He's the one that gets to play with all the friends that I don't get to play with.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough room for 6 guitar players in one band, especially in Fells Point. But,
That's true.
But he gets to play drums with, everybody down there, and it's been good. So he plays for those 2 months, and our bass player Juan just disappears. Like, he climbs rocks for a secondary living. And I'm not even kidding. I think he went to Thailand this year.
Yeah, to just do rock climbing?
Yeah, and I remember a couple spring
That's so
trainings
bitchin', man. I need something like that in my life, dude.
Dude, I don't know how he does it. I know how he does it because he works for his brother. His real job, he works for his brother. So he comes home and goes right back to work. But when we closed on our house, he was supposed to do the closing, and he was out climbing. So his assistant came and did it.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of pissed off.
And he's like, your brother.
Still not bitter about that at all. But so yeah, I mean he really doesn't play as much just for the sake of it because he likes to travel and rock climb. But
right.
So I take the 2 months to go work and make a little bit of money, and it's a beautiful, beautiful time down there in Sarasota, Florida.
So how long do you get to go down for?
Essentially February 1st to April 1st every year.
And then what band do they put a band together? Is it always the same band every 10 years? Like, what is it? What's the deal there?
Well, I mean, you mean Orioles wise?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean I literally work for them, so there's no playing at all down there. I don't have time to play, unfortunately. Try to go see bands down there. That's what I found to be the hardest thing in the past few years. Is all the good bands that I used to love going to see split.
Yeah.
And then I happened to walk into one place that I know has live music down there this year and see a guitar player that was in a band that I liked the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Didn't know the name of the band on the marquee out front, but walked in and saw this guy, and I'm like, oh man! And he actually plays a PRS 7-string.
Okay.
As a one guitar band, and it's cool to see what he does with that. But so 2 months out of the year we put Skies and Chaos on hold.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, we normally try like hell to either write and record something and release it while I'm gone to kind of keep the motor running while I'm out of town. But then you get lucky enough to hang out with guys like the dudes in Low Cash that are good friends of ours now, and they have come down and played in or around Sarasota the last 3 spring trainings.
Mm-hmm.
And this year our ownership actually had an entire concert they put on for charity.
That's awesome.
So I actually got to play guitar a little bit.
Yeah.
At the very end of spring training. It was literally the day before we got on the plane to come home.
And they had a lefty for you? Or did you bring one?
No, I had my custom 24, the first one I ever acquired. I had down there with me because I didn't mind throwing it in the Von Paris moving truck to come back home.
Yeah.
Didn't scare me. So, and I flew down there with it because I flew on a separate flight, commercial. And coming home, I had to come home with the team, so I didn't want to carry it on the plane. And that jackass that works in the clubhouse, carrying a guitar around.
You know what? That's awesome, though, man. So tell us about exactly what your band is. So it's a trio.
Yep.
And what do you guys do?
We've been writing our own music for years, and
do you have anything that we can link up for people too?
Yeah, I think so what happened essentially is we had a song that I didn't deem appropriate for. We got asked to play at FanFest this year for the Orioles, and we had a song called "Strippers and Jack" that was on a 6-song EP that we put out years ago. So you were concerned about the company man that I am, I'm pretty sure Dustin took that down off of iTunes. But there's a couple of little singles that we've put up once a year for the past 3 or 4 years up there. So on iTunes or YouTube, I mean, I know people like to listen to stuff for free nowadays. I do too. I mean, I'd be lying if I said otherwise. Yeah. But the YouTube stuff, I think you can just search Skies and Chaos and you should find recordings of Black Widow or Ocean Drive, which we actually wrote with Mark Trumbo from the Orioles. Mm-hmm.
That's all. So he's been playing guitar a long time, right?
Yeah. I mean, when we met a couple years ago, he was playing already, and he had been playing for a long time, and we just kind of hit it off. It was a mutual, obviously, connection about guitars and everything else. So, which, long story short, is about how this baby came along. But we'll get to that in a second. But so we were just jamming one day at the house on an off day when he was actually in town, because when the team travels, I don't have to go, which is why this date works for me so well. But he was over the house, and Dustin, I think, was there. I know Dustin was there. I don't think Juan was there. And we were just jamming on something that I thought was kind of cool, and it made sense to write. Lyrically, I had an idea. Guitar-wise, had a very simple idea that was simple nowadays is the best thing to do, I think. I mean, you listen to anything in country music that I love to play, and
I'm so with you on that, dude.
it's like you don't have to be Yngwie Malmsteen. Like,
Dude, I'm so happy to hear you say that, because I feel like there's so many players, not just guitarists, you know, that are on like the search for how outside I can go. You know what I mean? And I feel like the older I get and the longer I play, I'm like on the search for like what is the most simple inside,
straightforward.
What is the shit someone's gonna be humming in their car on the way
Right.
home?
Yeah.
That's the hunt.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, I'm so with you on that.
And that, I mean, and there's room for guys to be, like,
Of course.
amazing out there. Like, I finally realized, I shouldn't say finally, because I realized a long time ago that I was always a rhythm guitar player at heart. I just like to sing like background vocals and harmonize and play rhythm guitar. And so I always let my like lead playing take the back seat because I didn't care about it. And I never was one of those guys that like just straight woodshedded for 8 hours a day. If I did that, I was probably trying to play some song that rhythmically was difficult to sing along with.
Yeah.
Which is what I really worked on the most, like coming up. And there's room for guys out there. Like, I was fortunate enough to meet a guy named Andy Wood a couple of years ago. And Andy is probably one of the better guitar players I've seen in a long time.
Right.
And a lot of people don't even know, like, he was in Rascal Flatts for years. I met him because he was playing with Low Cash. And the dude shreds.
Just total monster.
Just, like, nasty.
Yeah.
Like, there was one night they were playing in Fort Myers, and the guys had asked if I wanted to come up and sing a song. I didn't have a guitar with me that night. And I was like, yeah, what do you want to do? He was like, well, we do this whole section in the middle that's like kind of 80s covers kind of thing. And I was like, what about like Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen? And
Yeah.
he pulls his phone out and puts it up to his ear. Yeah, we can do that. And like everybody else in the band was like, sure, as long as like him and Paul Scott's a really good friend of mine now, and he was the one that I was really leaning on.
Had he actually not heard that song?
He had heard it, but I don't think he had ever played it.
Right, okay.
And just nailed it.
Really?
All the way through.
Took the lead?
It was hilarious. Like I have a video of that probably on my Facebook page personally. Definitely on my Instagram page. But and I just jumped out and started singing it, and it was like I walked over to him halfway through the song, right when the solo was about to kick in. He looked at me and said, here we go. And it was nails. And it was hilarious. So there's room for guys like that.
I love seeing that. Oh, for sure there's room for that. I'm not one of those guys. No, dude, and you know what? but you sing though. You know what I mean? I would give anything to be able to, you know, to be a strong singer and be able to hold melodies, especially while playing, you know, complicated rhythm parts.
Backwards.
You know, backwards. Right. Backwards. Let's not forget about that. Backwards. But yeah, I'm equally impressed, if not more impressed, by dudes that show like restraint in their vibrato and like single note melody lines than I am with people who are just face melters.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I love that stuff. You know, that's so I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I rated my dad's, you know, vinyl collection, and everything was The Outfield or Journey. I'm pretty sure I've seen Journey every year that they've come through Maryland since I was like 3.
Yeah.
Like,
which one was the best
one? Years in the middle. To be honest with you, I was a huge fan of Steve Algeri, who was, I think, the first replacement, and the drummer was Dean Castronovo, and that dude blows me away.
Yeah.
Talk about somebody that can play his ass off. And there was a time at Wolf Trap, I'll never forget this moment. My dad and I are sitting there at Wolf Trap, and we're like up in like the balcony thing, and they started playing a song called Mother Father that I hadn't ever heard him play before live since Perry left the band, or he left Perry. And you just hear this voice. And like I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. I know the exact moment. You hear this voice, and they start doing Mother Father, and I'm like looking at my dad. I'm like, Steve Perry's coming out the side somewhere. He's here.
Because
dude's here.
If Steve doesn't do it, no one's gonna do it.
And then they zoom in on Dean Castronovo's face, and I went, "Holy shit!"
He just had the nuts, man.
And it's nails, like everything that he does. And so that was probably my favorite collection of Journey, as you call it.
That's a good story, man.
Yeah, that was a really good one, really good one. And Wolf Trap sucks, so that made the night. That made the night good. I hate the sound at Wolf Trap. It's terrible. It might be great for a 55-piece orchestra. I don't know, but it's not good for rock and roll.
I don't disagree with you, man.
But so that's where I got like the single note stuff that I always thought was cool, because I could never play any of the fast stuff that Neil Sean was playing.
Yeah.
I was never.
Neil Sean's crazy, man.
But he can hold like, and then the Sustainiac or whatever he's playing through, you know, all that stuff. But this thing at one point in time.
Yeah.
But he can make melodic choices that catch your attention, and you will forever be humming or singing a guitar part to
Any of Don't Stop Believing, Separate
Center
Ways.
My Love.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one that really, I think, sticks out to me. And like those slower, like single note things, like, oh, see, there's space.
Yeah.
I had a producer tell me one time, actually, when we were recording that Strippers and Jack song. I had a producer,
Which I want to hear, by the way, because I can't know the title of that tune and not hear it.
It's available still. It's out there.
You might have to play it for us.
I could probably down tune at some point, but there's there was this guy. I think his name was Anthony Satola. You might know him, but I didn't know him at the time. He's a bass player that's played with a ton of different people, and we were recording with a guy named Ross Hancock and Joey Amy, who plays bass in the Blatant 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious human being.
I don't know him.
But this dude, Anthony Satola, at one point looks at me and Dustin, our drummer, and he goes, "Leave a hole.
Somewhere."
Maybe some musical fallout." And I went,
That's a good line.
dude, it's been,
Maybe some musical fallout.
it's been 8 years and I still can't get that out of my head. And that's where like the whole thing with like Ocean Drive came out, and it was literally
Go for it, man.
it was literally just like,
Leave a hole, maybe some musical fallout. That is some good shit right there.
so Ocean Drive, I've been criticized a little bit for how simple the song is. It's so simple. The whole song is literally just
Does it have a big soaring lead?
Yeah.
Over top of it?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like the
I can't remember. I think
airplanes are flying.
Yeah, I think I actually ripped off of the Dead or Alive Bon Jovi thing. Something like,
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how it goes. We haven't played that song in 2 months, but which is probably terrible that I can't remember exactly. But and then like, so now that I am tuned down, so Strippers and Jack was just literally. Like the whole song just has like that.
That's
big
what
open-
Strippers and Jack should sound like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And like that one was. Like that's just the whole solo is essentially just that, and it was
Yeah.
kind of like. I'm gonna use the term staccato because I don't know if it's actually true or not. I'm terrible. Like theory-wise, I hated that class. Absolutely despised it. It just.
Yeah, that's staccato. Staccato just means,
Yeah.
sharp.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. Let's play something else, and then we'll talk about your rig.
All right.
How about your tune back up? Huh? Do something in G minor-ish.
Probably gotta turn it on.
there you go.
No
Awesome.
purposeful.
So let's talk about your sound, dude,
Okay.
and what you're playing. So let's start with not the knife here. Actually, let's start with the knife. What's the story of the knife there?
It was just a nice 30th birthday gift a friend of mine gave me. Just like to carry every day.
I have a friend of mine in California. His name's Noah Ang, one of my favorite guitar players. You're the only other person I know besides him that he used to always just say, "I'm here. Here's my beer. Here's my knife." Now we're ready.
It's appropriate nowadays. You play gigs in Baltimore and shit gets a little hairy.
Yeah, we don't need to go there. All right, well, let's start with your guitar. So clearly it's a PRS. Clearly this is a custom job. It's got your name on it. Look at the color. Look at the top. What's the story, dude?
Well, I took a friend to the PRS factory probably 5 years after creating a relationship with Mrs. Beverly Fowler of Artist Relations, and
Howdy, Bev.
that lucky situation there led to taking a friend to the factory who had never really been into PRS. He was a fan of another brand for a point in time, and he actually wanted to check the place out. So Bev was kind enough to have us down, and she gave him a one-on-one kind of private tour.
Awesome.
And I followed around, and you know, you have to have earplugs in, and it gets a little noisy in the factory, but you can see that every single step of the way, the care that's being taken upon each step of the instrument making process.
They really give a shit.
Yeah, completely give a shit.
Yeah.
And so
I'm with you on that one.
I've always been a fan of, you know, I'd been on a factory tour before we became friends, Beverly and I. And I think, like, a buddy of mine's dad took me, I was young. I want to say I was probably a sophomore in high school-ish, maybe a freshman. And so I hadn't been since, and they had done a whole secondary portion of the factory had been added on from what I remember. And so I took Mark down there, and we were walking around, and he was just curious to see how everything was done. And at the end of the tour, we ended up in the wood library up across from Bev's office, and I just felt like I was lucky enough to be in that place and see those things, and I was completely happy with the whole day of like just showing Mark around. And so Paul Smith walks in and offers to Mark, he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "we'd like to, you know, make you a guitar." And they were chatting
Just right
a
off
little
the
bit.
bat, hey, I'd like to make you a guitar.
Yeah, I mean, they were chatting a little bit beforehand, and so I'm following him around, like just having fun, like picking out woods, and I think the way Paul said it was like, "Hey, pick out some wood, we're gonna build you a guitar." And at the time, I remember Mark looking at me going like, I really wasn't planning on spending $10,000 today, but
And I currently
in
don't
Rome,
play
I
one of your
guess.
guitars.
Right.
Yeah.
So we walked around and we were looking at tops and
So now I'm going to make you a free guitar.
right.
I'm just going to make you a guitar.
Yeah, we didn't know like
Come to the private wood library.
So we're kind of like in there and we're like, "Oh, this is pretty cool, man." You're like in the mecca
Right.
of electric guitar woods and acoustic now. But we're standing around and, you know, Paul goes and does a meeting or a phone call or something he had to do. And essentially we end up walking around for a half hour just picking out different tops. And, you know, they do the whole thing where they spray with water to show you what the...
I have not seen that actually.
So I think Bev was the only one up there with us, and Bev had taken a like water bottle and they spray the top so you can see like what the flame would look like with the stain on. And so as Mark and I are doing that, push come to shove, bottom line, he wound up getting a gold top DGT. So the tops we looked at didn't actually matter. But I'm following him around and Bev's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just taking it all in. This is cool." And she's like, pick out some stuff." And I'm like, "What are we going to do? Put it under your desk until like Vegas pays off and I can afford to buy a left-handed single cut?" Like I knew what it was going to cost. We had talked about it for a couple of years.
Right.
And she was like, "Well, you know," she was like, you are an artist and I make guitars for artists. Like I want to make you your guitar." I'm like, "Shut up. You kidding? No way." At this point, I'm still thinking Mark's paying for it. Like we still
Right.
thought like this was going,
It's like,
there's going to be
I'm
a bill at the end of this
right.
day, right? So I kind of look at Mark. I'm like, "Hey, dude, might need a loan for a couple days. Like, we'll get back to it. I promise."
Yeah.
And so we both continued looking, and I picked out this top, and I have pictures of, you know, the whole process. I have the top. I picked out the fretboard. Beverly picked out the veneer that matches the fretboard. It's Brazilian, so I can't take it out of the United States, but I don't plan to.
You actually can.
Cannot. So like if you read the back, it says
USA
only.
Okay, so I'm ignorant in this. What happens if you do that? Why can't you do that?
Well, it's the Brazilian rosewood has been, I guess, endangered technically. I hear a lot of companies have problems with getting Brazilian rosewood. Paul doesn't seem to have an issue at all, and he does everything as to the T as you can. And so I don't really know what the shortage is to other companies.
He probably just bought it all 15 years ago.
I mean, maybe he might have.
And it's in the vault.
Yeah, and I mean, so. But the story I did hear was that Carlos Santana had one taken somewhere in Europe going through customs, because with the CITES Act, you can't take Brazilian rosewood or some even rosewood. I think at this point, I'm also kind of lackadaisical on the topic, but you can't take like rosewood in general through different countries.
I had no idea, man.
Without the proper CITES paperwork and everything else. So in that process, like I said, Mark got a gold top, and the thing's sick. He actually played it. We did a show together in January at Orioles Fan Fest, and all the pictures and videos from that, he's playing the gold top that they made him. And it's at my house because he's now in town. But so we picked out the top, the fretboard. I don't think I picked out the back. I might have. And then the neck itself, the neck is the best process. That's what's so much fun. So with this gold top, Mark wanted a maple neck. Well, at first, someone said in the room, like, hey, he might want, like, a mahogany neck.
Right.
Meanwhile, Paul is back in the room at this point, picking up neck blanks off the top shelf, and he does his, like, patented thing where he'll hold a neck blank and he'll just...
Yeah, I've seen videos of him doing
like,
that.
tap on all four sides, and you can hear it. And you can hear the tonality in the wood. And Paul turns around and goes, oh, okay, so they just make Stradivarius out of these, throws it back up on the top. And Mark's like, no, we'll take that one. We'll take that one, I promise. That's
Just
amazing.
Just overly dramatic, right?
But hilarious. Like, that's how he is. He's funny. He's really funny. So he wound up going with that neck, and then I'm pretty sure Paul picked this one out for me, between Paul and Bev together, and we did the tapping. And it's funny because you can't hear it as well now with the strings on it, but you can still hear the tonality, and it resonates like crazy.
Yeah.
But when you have that whole big rectangular brick, essentially, and you tap on both sides, you might get a ding, 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 ding. Like on two.
That's so wild, man.
It's amazing. And like that's how he is, even with like, I watched a TED Talk or something, where he took a bag of nuts and just dropped them all on the floor, and was like, I can tell you which one of those sounded more musical. And like, so even down to like the tuners and the nuts and everything, that's just how he is, and he's figured it out, and it's perfect. So long story short, at the end of the day, we walked out with 2 guitars being made by the private stock sector over there, Paul Miles and all his guys. And
unbelievable, dude.
You can't beat that. I mean, Paul Miles and Beverly have been the best people in the world to me. I'm a nobody. I mean, I just play guitar in Fells Point, essentially, you know. I've played at a few colleges up and down the East Coast, but really been pushing hard recently to get out of the cover world. There's so much money in it. It's so much better than like...
That's what bars. That's what the people want to hear. Whether it's bars, clubs, people's parties. I mean, I'm by no means against playing somebody's backyard if the money's right. Sure.
That shouldn't be necessarily the only thing. It probably sounds a bit douchebaggish to say if the money's right, I'll play at your pool party. But
no, but that's the truth, because if you are playing at that pool party, you're not playing somewhere else. So you got to make a choice.
And I'm not above playing anywhere. Like that's just how it is nowadays. So I was fortunate enough, and like we got in the car to drive back home from Stevensville, and I obviously had no clue it was going to turn out like this, and as great and amazing as it did. I knew it would be amazing, but when I picked this thing up 2 Novembers ago, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And they actually took Marks out to NAMM, and we went out to NAMM 2 years ago, and they gave it to him there, which was really funny.
Very cool.
Because they had just released that J-Mod amp.
Yeah, I was there for that at NAMM.
And Ewald was like sitting in the room with us, and Mark was like, "Dude, I didn't want to play through the J-Mod either. It scared the shit out of me."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, Ewald, here, like, let me hear what it sounds like."
Yeah.
But no, it's been great. And
is there a name for that color, dude?
We went for like an
That is like such a bitchin' color, man. I love that.
I think the top is really what makes it, like, if you shift, you can see, I mean, obviously you can probably see it.
I'm going to take a better picture for Instagram.
Yeah. I just keep doing this.
Dude.
Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, it just literally, I think that what I thought was going to be a bright Orioles-esque orange, which was my theory behind the whole thing, with this top and the flame, turned it into just like a gorgeous creamsicle type thing. And so that's what I'm going with. I'm calling it creamsicle.
Yeah, dude.
That's what I've been calling it since I got it. And
dude, it's I've seen a lot of nice guitars, man. You pulled that out of the case, I was like, that's a 10 right there.
It's
a 10.
I knew, I mean, I had 4, I think at the time, guitars from PRS that I had purchased, and one was gifted to me. And that's what started this relationship, but I knew that the quality was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But when I picked this thing up, like, I missed this thing the last 2 months of being in
I
Florida.
bet.
And, like, when I came home, it was like, okay, my wife and my dog came first, and then yesterday, or 2 days ago, I pulled it out of the case and was just like, she's back. And I had just restrung it right before I left.
So it was ready to roll.
Yeah, but I restrung it again anyway 2 days ago, just for the sake of, like, having my hands on it. And, like,
yeah,
touching it.
Give you something to do with
It's
it.
completely nerdy, I tell you. But
dude, it's beautiful, man. And do you know what pickups are in there?
These are so this was right after the 5815s came out. These aren't the low turns, but these are what should be in.
I was gonna say, I think it looks like they're the same ones.
You have the low turns. These are the regular 5815s, and this was right before these came out. The 594s, we actually played a couple of them. I played one upside down, and Mark played one straight up. Right before they released these, when we were on this tour. And so these pickups, I was like, is it possible? She asked me. I mean, every detail you could think of. Like this neck pattern is what came into being the 594s, the pattern vintage, I believe.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm 99% positive that this is a pattern vintage neck profile, and that's what I picked for this after playing one of those upside down. Because, like I said, I have a couple that are pattern regular, I have a couple that are pattern thin, that I don't gravitate towards as much just because I have bear claws for hands.
You do have huge hands, man.
So, like, this is like, I don't know if this is just home now.
Yeah.
Or what.
Probably.
But this, and I have a 99 McCarty that I bought off Reverb off of a guy that, like, he was so embarrassed when I felt bad, but we were talking back and forth and negotiating the price, and, you know, that's just how Reverb works.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, dude, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, I like this guitar. It's cool. I'm going to take it back to the factory and ask them to do, like, they have their whole, like, refinish section where they will repair, refinish, anything you want them to do. I was like, I'm going to have it refretted, and I already have a bunch of PRS guitars with humbuckers. I want to put P90s in it. So I did that, and that thing's bitching too. It's fucking insane.
I bet.
But it's as close to this body, weight, like the old McCartys and stuff before they stopped making left-handed guitars for a little bit. It's thick, it's heavy, and the neck is damn near identical to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I gravitate towards that a lot. So this profile is really what I fell in love with, and I got it off of the 594 right before they were released. But every detail on this thing, she asked me, you know, the way that these, because this is a single cut, and it's a 245. It's not the 594, which the 594 was about to be released. So the wiring is a little bit different. But I wanted this because my whole life, like growing up, I always thought, like, my dad was super supportive, everything music-wise. He was a drummer in the 70s.
Okay.
So, like, he's got the old Jason Bonham, like, Ludwig classic maple kit in the basement, like, everything. I was really lucky growing up. I mean, he took care of everything that I ever wanted, guitar-wise.
That's awesome, dude.
And so I always wanted a single cut, ever since, like, I think the first single cut, and I could be wrong about this, Bev, don't be mad at me, was, like, the Tremonti signature. I think was one of the first ones that they had done in this shape. And essentially, it was ridiculously impossible to get left-handed.
Right.
Like, the CNC machines weren't machined for cutting it left-handed.
They basically had to stop production on it.
Pretty much did it all by hand. So, like, growing up, I remember I had a PRS catalog in, like, 7th or 8th grade. And my dad and I were looking, and they had this blue that I can't remember what the hell it was called, but it was like, it just popped off the front of this thing. And I fell in love with this color. And I was thinking, you know, I really want that. And I almost did that for this. And then based off of the circumstances and the situation I was in, I went with like the Oreo steam thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the pickups, I mean, she asked me what I wanted there, the fret wire, the tuners, everything.
Everything.
Was so down.
And how long is the process for private stock?
I would say, I think we ordered them in April, essentially, and got them in November.
That's not bad.
It's really not. I mean, I'm sure it depends on their workload. And
sure. Which I'm sure is heavy.
If John Mayer calls and says, hey, I want to do something, like, prioritize. Trust me, I get it. But there's no explaining the quality of work that Paul Miles does in that private stock.
Yeah, man.
It's insane.
Yeah, it speaks for itself.
It's crazy. I mean, I was afraid to take this out and play at places like the Admiral's Cup or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I kind of feel that way about that. Especially this. This is a totally different story. But this is like my baby, and like even though it's kind of like beat up, like I really don't gig with it, man.
Right.
I'm too afraid.
Well, you know the Admiral's Cup. I mean, I'm from me to you away from the top drunk in the crowd.
Yeah.
And I love it. I feed off of it. It gives me that energy that I'm looking for. But I can't tell you how many times, like, I have a chip in one of these teeth from drunk guy hitting mic stand.
I have one right here too, man.
And like I've had it fixed twice, and finally I was like, you know what, whatever. But I didn't take this to certain bars, and I'm lucky enough to have, I think now six or seven PRS guitars.
Wow.
And ever since Beverly and I met, I haven't played anything other than PRS, especially out live. And I normally play a PRS Archon, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
But, I mean, pretty much verbatim, Paul Smith explained, like, I don't make these guitars for them to sit in your closet. Like, we make these guitars to be played.
I've heard stories of him saying that to people that, like, bought the Dragons and stuff.
Right.
People that spent, 20 30 G's.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, man, gig with them.
Right. Play it. We made it to be played.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
And now I play it every night, and I can't, 2 nights a weekend, 2 weekends a month, based off my work schedule.
Yeah.
But I can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Like, I take the custom 22s and the 24s and their backups, and like I said, the 24 I had in Florida with me, and I actually get to play that on that Lowcast show. But
cool.
These, I just can't, like, this thing, I legitimately was third place excited to see this behind my wife and my dog. I would be lying if I said otherwise. I was excited to play this again.
I totally understand.
And I didn't even play it at rehearsal last night because I just restrung it and wanted to bring it here. I'll take it home and I'll restring it again before Friday, and then Friday night show I'll restring it again before Saturday.
Will you really?
Yeah, I have to.
Really? You restring before every show?
I'm obnoxious. Like,
that's crazy, man.
I sweat like you could never believe.
So you get corroded strings pretty easily?
2, I can now... I always laughed at the people that could tell you that they could feel a difference in strings if they weren't fresh.
Yeah.
But after countless shows of playing back-to-back nights in all these bars,
sure.
I now can feel it. And I tried, like, I've been using Ernie Ball strings my entire life.
Yeah, me too.
And this was set up with skinny top, heavy bottoms, straight from the factory. And it was perfect. And as soon as, like, I get through a night of, so let's say 3.5 hours of playing, and sweat and everything else, I can just feel that they're not as,
it's
slinky
as
I want them.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I'm just surprised that you take the time and spend the money to do that.
Well, the money thing is what's funny. So I tried the Paradigms when they came out. I tried the Cobalts. I really loved the way that the Cobalts felt. The Paradigms felt just like the regular Slinkies to me, and were supposed to last longer. And they might last longer for people that don't play 3.5 hours a night,
right,
sweating profusely.
Right.
But I found myself still changing at $14 a pack.
Yeah.
The Paradigms. So I went back to the regular Slinkies.
Yep.
And just continuously change. And you know as well as I do, at Amazon you can buy, $3.50 a pack. And I
buy 50 of them at a time.
Yeah. And I just figured that $3.50 a pack coming out of however much I'm making per night,
right,
is acceptable.
Yeah.
So that's why I do it.
Yeah, it's one beer.
And they just feel, and the people that we play with, the people at the Admiral's Cup and Waterfront and Tin Roof are so good to us. It's probably not even a full beer, to be honest with you. But just the feel and the comfort of this thing with fresh strings is home, and that's what I get the most out of.
Awesome.
So
well, let's hear this rig, man. So you bring this out in fell.
I've been using the PRS Archon 50-watt head.
But I mean, this is your footprint, though.
This is.
You hire you get this.
Yep. And I'm the one carrying the shit.
Dude, I love it, man. Because the rest of us are like, man, give me a small everything.
I would love to. I will investigate that off the air later, but
Yeah.
I would love to downsize. I really would. And that cabinet excites the hell out of me.
Dude, you know what? I like the sound of this little cabinet. It's just a single 10 in there, man.
Yeah, I mean, everything. The only thing I don't have from Paul Reed Smith is a 212 cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking about it, and I haven't pulled the trigger. But I got this thing. This has Celestian cream alnicos in it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit darker, which for the cover gig thing as a 3-piece band really helps me. One, it's slanted up so that when it's on the case, on the footprint of the case.
That is a very cool feature.
Yeah, and so it's actually throwing air towards my ears as opposed to my ankles.
Yep.
And I'm a little bit taller than most humans, so that was an issue.
How tall are you?
6'3",
Yeah.
6'4" on a good day, depending on how well I slept. I can tell when I have to adjust my rearview mirror when I get in the car.
That's ridiculous.
But this thing, I fell in love with the thought process of a slanted cabinet. It's the only reason I did it, and I'm sure Paul does everything. There was a point where Paul and I were trying to make baseball bats. So if I were to say, hey, would you make a slanted cabinet? I'm sure for the right price he would do anything that anybody asks.
He might be texting you on your phone right now.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope that I haven't said anything offensive. If he's texting me, it'd be phenomenal. But we haven't talked in a couple months. But so that cabinet is with me at every gig. Because with the Archon, with the 50-watt Archon, people think I'm sure there's people that think that a Tremonti amp is nothing but metal. But it's not. It's not true.
No, it's not true.
And the Archon, same thing. Like you pull that gain back to 4,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do 38 special.
Yep.
You can do whatever you want, and then you can boost with the any different pedal, which we'll get to. But so head-wise, I use the Archon 50-watt for all of our live shows,
Mm-hmm.
and this cabinet. And the cream alnicos are a little bit darker, which I'm finding. I played this last night at rehearsal through a Marshall 412,
Mm-hmm.
and it was way brighter.
Yeah.
I'm actually finding that I don't love this combination
Gotcha.
as we sit here in this room, which is why I keep
And you can't tweak it out.
keep
huh?
bumping the mids just a little
Yeah.
bit. But fuck it, I'll just take a different cabinet if I want to use this for something, But I'm still lugging this shit around because it's what's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And until my back finally gives out, which is possible to happen at any given point, I'm taking the 50-watt Archon and this cabinet and this board anywhere. And I've had I forgot the board one time, and it just had the Archon, and I had no problems.
Right.
No problems at all.
Yeah.
I was missing the reverb. That's really the only thing that I kind of do.
Yeah.
But we sufficed. It's better than the night that I blew up an amp because I didn't take the Archon, which
What'd you blow
was
up?
comical. BE 100.
Yeah.
Another Friedman. And that just kind of blew my mind. I had everything other than fuses.
Yeah.
And now there's fuses in that fucking Pelican case outside that
Fuses
door.
in my case too, man. I used to have a Dr. Z Z-Rec, and it was super sensitive to power.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the shitty power at Purple Moose before.
Right, yeah.
Fucker blew twice there.
Oh.
And so now,
It's the worst feeling.
now two things happen when I get the text message that we're playing the Purple Moose. One, I'm like, all right, I'm bringing the shittiest amp I have, and two,
You gotta get a brown box.
exactly, I gotta get a brown box.
Yeah.
And
People think those Furman power conditioners, they solve all the world's problems. They don't at all. They're great, but they don't solve that problem.
right,
Whereas the brown box, I actually have borrowed one, and I'm probably going to acquire one because I was recording vocals at Paul Smith's house last year, and right before I left, he threw a 1973 Marshall Super Lead
mm-hmm.
in my truck, and was like, "Hey, check this out. If you like it, I'll tell you what it costs. If you don't, bring it back to me." And it's all original.
It's
And
such a ridiculous thing to do.
But it is the best sounding Marshall I've ever played in my life. And I haven't been fortunate enough to play a lot of old ones.
Uh-huh.
I've been fortunate enough to play 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is insane. So I paid him for it and I kept it. But at Brown Box, has been plugged into that 73 since I've been home. I haven't turned it on yet, but I imagine that it's going to help. Because, those older amps are made, and maybe the Z-Rex are pretty, relatively new, but
Yeah.
they run better off of 117.
Yeah.
Not 135 or whatever's coming out of the fucking wall at the Purple Moose.
Yeah. That is true. And I never really realized that. Do you know who Matt Berry is?
I do know him.
So he plays around town a lot. He's a bitching guitar player, plays bass a lot in Fells. But he has he has a Dr. Z. He plays with Frankie G in the whatever that band's called.
There's too many to know.
Doesn't Frankie have like 15 bands?
Yeah.
Right. I know. I think his classified frequency is that specific incarnation.
He's like Jason Heiser. What band are you playing with tonight? Fucking
I'm playing-
Circus Party?
I'm playing with two.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, but no. So Barry had a Dr. Z, not the combo, the full thing, and he brought the big power conditioner, and he was saying that he's got it dialed into like 116, 117, like he's got it all figured out, and that's something I've never messed with at all.
Brown boxes are kind of expensive. They're like $400, but
Yeah.
completely worth it.
To keep with you, because if you gig a lot, you're gonna have issues.
Right.
Yeah. I guarantee. I definitely have. I'd say 2 to 3 amp malfunctions a year on a gig.
Well, that was the thing with when I blew the VE. It was the first time it ever happened to me, and it was the first song of the night.
Yeah, of course.
And it was like meltdown mode. Really long story short, I had on a shirt that night that my wife will tell you was
Sweat through the whole
completely
thing.
bad luck. No, I had this shirt on one night. We played a gig in an Angels Rock Bar. We opened for Stone Horses, right? Their first show, I think, that they did after Charm City Devils turned into Stone Horses. But got pulled over on the way home. I'd had a few beers, not a lot.
Yeah.
And we left at like 11:30. So I got pulled over like on the way home and had to do a field sobriety test.
Uh-huh.
And luckily wasn't drunk. Passed the field sobriety test. Still scary as hell. Like you
Right.
don't know a shittier feeling than that. I can hopefully tell you've never felt it.
I
And
have felt it.
Okay, so you know
I do.
that is the shittiest feeling in the entire world.
Yeah.
I had that shirt on.
I had to do one in cowboy boots on cobblestones one time.
That fucks me up just thinking about it.
Oh, dude! And the guy gave me this look. I was like, "You try these fuckers on,
Dude,
man."
I'm telling you. But so I had that shirt on. And then we played a gig at Blackwall Hitch in Annapolis a couple months later. And it was cold. It was like this nice flannel shirt that I really liked that I bought from a company that I was trying out. And the PA blows at Blackwall Hitch within the first set.
Uh-huh.
Luckily, I had our brand new PA that we had just bought, a PreSonus rack-mounted system, and all new JBL speakers in my truck because we had a gig the night before, the next night, or both. And so I went and redid the whole PA by myself, said, fuck the house system, we'll be fine. Third time's a charm, playing at the waterfront. First song in, we open with Can't You See by Marshall Tucker Band.
Yeah.
And the thing, it blew. I turned around and threw that fucking shirt in the trash. My wife looks at me and goes, where'd the shirt go? And I was like, it's in the fucking trash. I was like,
Did
"All
you
right."
have a backup shirt?
I had one underneath, and I just went with that. I was probably wearing this. I wear these Guitar Sanctuary shirts every day. But it was like, dude, I could not deal with that shirt anymore. It had to go. So I threw it away, and I wound up borrowing a Mesa Mark V from Eddie Lauer because he was playing an acoustic gig that night, and he had it in his car. And Dustin, our drummer, ran all the way down the end of Thames Street, around the corner up to like a Little Italy parking garage, and ran back with this thing. Meanwhile, Juan and I are ripping this apart. I put new tubes in. I didn't realize fuses. I didn't think about it at all until I got home the next day and was like, shit. So found out that there was a tube that blew a fuse. Got through that whole thing.
Side question. Where do you get your fuses? I used to go to Bainesville Electronics, and now they're closed.
Yeah, that's actually when we were talking earlier about creating that pedal loom. That's where I got that heat shrink stuff.
Yeah.
That's how long ago I got the heat shrink stuff that still hasn't been used. I went to Home Depot.
They had them?
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, it was a 1 amp and a 4 amp.
Okay.
I replaced both of them. And just Home Depot and your regular electronics section were all.
I didn't know they carried that kind of selection
Yeah.
of fuses.
Yes.
Anyhow.
So I did acquire that. So that was fixed, and I have not taken any other amp other than the Archon since then.
Yeah.
Because it was like I've never had an issue with the Archon. It's a workhorse. I could probably throw it down the stairs like you were talking earlier with something else, and it would probably still fire up. So this is just something I just recently borrowed/acquired, and I figure it's appropriate because it's not a PRS amp, but it used to belong to Neil Sean, from what I understand. And
The exact head used to belong to
yes,
Sean.
this one, and it's a Steve Stevens signature. So I've been having fun. Like I immediately, like when you do anything.
Yeah, let's hear it. Play
anything
some stuff.
Steve Stevens to me is like.
That is the sound.
Top Gun, you know.
That's it.
And he did that, so that's the first thing I played when I plugged this in last night.
I didn't know that was him playing.
Oh yeah. He's on so much stuff that he's like Steve Lukather. There's so much stuff that they're on that they never got credit for.
Yeah.
Like pretty much anything produced by Quincy Jones back in like the '80s, Steve Lukather played guitar on.
And he got like $500 and then that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I mean, I'll be this weekend at Tin Roof. I'll have the Archon head. I might take this just for fun, just in case. But like I said, I don't like the way this matches up with this cabinet, so I probably won't.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if I dial this mid and treble up just a smidge, I mean.
It sounds great, dude.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. I don't want to fuck with the presence too much because I don't know. But I'm normally like everything straight up. Like that Archon is straight up, every single knob, and maybe back the gain down a little bit, and it does everything that we need it to do. But I mean, this thing's pretty cool.
Do you guys cover that tune?
No.
I was like, if you guys cover that tune, I'm gonna come out and check it out.
I would never try to sing that song. Yeah, I would never try to sing that if I had to.
Because I was like, man, I've never heard you sing before.
Maybe if
I was like, man, if you play that and sing that, like, I'm coming out to see your fucking.
If we tune down to, I'm glad to know that's what the threshold is. We got to do that to get you out to the gig.
No, it's a much lower threshold if it's during the week.
Yeah, right. Which we don't do ever. We should have
So
played.
you're always on the weekends?
Yeah. So essentially, Dustin's playing with other people during the week, and I don't know that bars really want our vibe on a weeknight.
I don't know, man.
We're perfect for a Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah.
Where you want to keep a crowd like that's. I will never once.
Where they're slamming Fireball and.
I mean, I will never once like say that we're the best band that you'll ever see, but we will be the best band that you will see in that particular bar that evening.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. But the one thing that we pride ourselves in is I try and pay attention and make eye contact with everyone that I can. And if I notice that the 4 people in the back of the bar are really digging, you know, Midnight Rider by the Allman Brothers, I'm going to follow that with Can't You See by Marshall Tucker and try to keep those people so that they buy at least one more drink. And like that's what I pride myself on, and that's
awesome,
as a band
dude.
what we are most known for.
We do something similar. So I mean, you don't do set lists.
Right. No,
Yeah, we don't either. And like I so subscribe to what you're saying.
Right.
Man.
I have a printout on top of one of the amps. It's probably the Archon that has all of our songs, and I have to get really close to look at it because of how small they are on this piece of paper that fits on top of an amplifier. But if we have to, I can and I do get stumped a lot. Like my brain just fries itself by the second set, and I'm like, what if we played? What if we not played? Man, what would really work for this? This crowd needs. Oh, you got Counting Blue Cars by Dishwalla. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so it's just that really. I'm trying to keep a crowd there as much as possible. And I mean,
And that's how you keep the club owner happy, man.
right. And I mean that's where I know that I would love to tour the entire world. Don't get me wrong, but that's where these relationships that we've built at the Admiral's Cup and the Waterfront, which are both booked by the same people, but both crews are amazing to us because when we're playing and we're making money, they're making money, and that's what has to happen. And that's what keeps a cover band in business.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps my mortgage paid, my electric on, like all that stuff.
I'm with you, dude.
So that's the most important part to us is making sure that the crowd is happy, so that then the club owner or bar
Yeah.
is happy as well.
Yeah, the dude that runs my band always makes the joke that's like, we're really just exotic beer salesmen.
Yeah, completely. I've never heard that either, but that's good too.
It's kind of true.
What do you guys do? Well, we push alcohol.
At
Might
the
as
end,
well work
at
for-
the end of the day, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, might as well work for one of those distributing companies.
Right on. Well, let's play something else, and then we'll call it a day. How about that?
All right.
You pick something. Anything you want.
I just told you I get brain fried.
You want to sing? You
Lights
want
by
to
Journey.
That did kind of sound like that. It's up to you, man. You can sing one. You can do something just yourself. It's up to you.
Haven't played that song ever.
Yeah, I've never
I heard it, and I
never
was like,
learned
oh,
that
that's
song.
what that sounds like. Do I want to sing? No. I'd
Then
rather
don't.
just jam with you. But
All right, do it then.
let's go for like a Funk 49-esque
All right, go for it.
situation.
So is that A like? Is that right? dude, very nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
You sound great, man. I really appreciated you coming here, bringing everything.
For sure.
And Blakely Cain, everybody.
Woo!
And we'll be sure to make sure we tag your stuff. And if you don't mind, I want to take some pictures of this for Instagram.
For sure.
So stay tuned for that. And so, you said you're playing at the Tin Roof this weekend?
Yeah, Friday and Saturday night.
Friday and Saturday? All right, 10 to close.
Back to back. Probably 9 to 12:30.
9 to 12, just muscle through 4 hours.
Straight through. And if there's a crowd, we'll keep playing till 1, 1:30, whatever they want.
Awesome.
So,
well, thanks again.
thank you.
And thank you guys for tuning in. And be sure to check him out if you're in Baltimore or online. We'll put some links up here shortly. Woo! Oh. Awesome.